Alright guys, welcome back to the channel for some more Super Dragon Ball Heroes content. The next unit we're going to be using is AGL Kid Fu. Did manage to pull 2 dupes in him. All his links are level 1. We are going to need to lose some HP to trigger big bad bosses. Another unit we're actually not using on a full Heroes or crossover team. Again, I'm loving the leniency this year. Does work really well with Demigra, so we actually do lucky enough have them on the same rotation. He is starting with a 379k attack stat, 204k defense. He does stack attack by 50% every time he supers and raises defense by 50% on super as well for 1 turn. Also has a 50% chance to stun, which we can utilize here in the showcase, but not something we're typically going to be able to take advantage of for the majority of the time. Is starting a turn with key plus 2, attack and defense plus 150. Does gain an additional attack and defense plus 50%, and 5.3 is quite low, but again, he is a stacker, so I don't mind. Does gain an additional 50% attack and defense and 20% crit chance per crossover or time traveler's category ally attacking in the same turn, which the entire rotation is. Demigra, of course, is a crossover and time traveler, whereas Fat Boo is a time traveler as well. Actually, every unit on this team is a time traveler unit aside from Kid Boo. And it's not even like you need these buffs because it's per ally attacking in the same turn, so it's only ever going to be 100% attack and defense for 2 and 40% chance to crit for the full 2. So I'm completely fine with missing that out like once every other, actually more than every other turn. So the majority of the time we are going to have that. He then does gain an additional attack and defense plus 100% when performing a super attack. Then also launches an additional attack. There's a 50% chance to become a super. Where am I up to? I literally just completely lost where I was reading this passive. That's literally all it was. An additional attack, there's a 50% chance of becoming a super attack, which is decent considering he does stack attack. So you want him to stack up as quickly and as much as possible. He then will launch another additional attack. There's a 70% chance of becoming a super attack and have 20% damage reduction when there's another extreme class ally attacking in the same turn or when there's a super class enemy. So, if you do have your rotation, say, a little bit mixed up and you are running a Heroes team, a crossover team, you know, maybe the extreme class units you have on those categories aren't very good. If you take him into Supreme Magnificent Battle, for example, you'll be facing superclass enemies at all times. So you'll be able to get that damage reduction, you'll be able to get that additional. If you do have him on a team like this where you're running all extreme type units, or you then eventually have your rotation sorted and you have him next to, say, Demigra, for example, and that rotation's working for you, then again, you'll pretty much have this at all times, regardless of the content you decide to take Fu into. So I do think that's quite nice. Let me put him in slot 1 so we can get another stack off. See, we are actually missing an extra 50% attack and defense and 20% chance to crit just because Kid Boo is there. However, we do have Kid Boo's support. So it's kind of making up for the fact that we are missing that. We're up to 7 mil already. But that's what happens when you stack by 50%. You stack up fairly quickly. We haven't even had too many additional supers happen in the 2 turns he's appeared either. So we could actually stack up even quicker than we already are. Fu then also gets a 20% crit chance up to 40% and damage reduction by 20% up to 40% as well within the same turn of each super attack performed. So those 2 built-in additionals, if they happen, there you go. There's your extra 40% chance to crit, your extra 40% damage reduction, combined with the damage reduction you already have, taking you to 60%. Although they do have to be super attacks, so if he doesn't end up super attacking, normal standard additionals won't count, unfortunately. But then combined with the crit chance he already has built in per crossover or time traveler's category ally, that could actually take Fu, if you had both of those allies in 1 turn, that will actually take Fu up to 80% crit chance, which means he primarily has almost guaranteed crit, which is pretty nice considering how fast, again, he can stack his attack up, which means he's going to be doing good damage, especially because he has 2 built-in additionals. He's going to be doing a good amount of damage, not only overall, but just in general, as I said, with that much crit. So damage-wise, I mean, damage-wise, a lot of these units are putting out good numbers. Fu, especially with the potential with the stacking and the amount of additionals and the crit. Demigra with the crit, and we saw him get to like, what, 11, 12 mil? Goku, who we saw start at like 10, additional 2-3 times, get up to like 12. Then under like UI Goku's domain, go all the way up to 18. And he also has built-in crit. So these Heroes units are definitely not lacking crit chance, that's for sure. and they're definitely not lacking in terms of damage. And with how many of them have built-in damage reduction by the fork loads and guard, etc., also means defensively it kind of makes up for the fact they have lower stats than Dokkan, Fest, and LRs as well. So I do think they've handled the heroes units really well this year. We're on 6.4. I mean, we do have a time traveler next to us, so we do have that extra 50% and extra crit chance. 7 mil, there's 2 extra stacks in. Third. And then because we do have dupes in them, could we see a fourth? No, just a normal. I mean, we had his full damage reduction because we super attacked 3 times. So Fu would have been ready to go with not only 3 50% defense raises, but then his full 60% damage reduction as well. See, that was a very good turn for him. I said a whole ton of defense because of how many times he super attacked. And that's 50% each time. We had his full passive buff because we had crossover and time travelers attacking in the same turn. So we got the full 100%, and then he super attacked 3 times. So we had all of his damage reduction. That was a really good turn. I actually really wish he got super attack then, just to see what he would have taken after that. He then also has a 50% chance of changing all key spheres to AGL and tech key spheres, starting from the 5th turn from the start of battle. Which he only does once, by the way. So once that 5th turn hits, and he ends up doing it once, which is a coin flip chance, he'll only do it once only. Which, he has nothing in his passive. I mean, this can work well with other allies, other units, but in terms of himself, he doesn't need anything that requires orbs or type of orbs. So it will work with someone else, but you'll only get to use it once. You'll only get to take advantage of it once. But Fu's another unit that actually has some pretty good 200% leads, just kind of like Demigra. Again, not as many as Goku, but just like Demigra has some good ones. He actually goes on Tech UI Goku's 200% lead. I don't know who you would run him with, but he can go there. Fusion Zamasu, who does have a very good category and has overall some very good categories that he leads. He's already up to 1.3 million. And again, that's only going to get higher and higher because he gets the stack. And again, we didn't really additional super too many times the first 2 appearances he had. So right now, we could easily be above 10 million. If one, we didn't kill Goku in the tech phase, and he actually got to get some additionals off. I mean, he's cooking right now. Look at him go again. We would have his full damage reduction right now and everything. We can't get that 3rd additional. We can't get that 4th super attack. How much is this going to do? So 3 super attacks, 3 50% defense raises, and all of his damage reduction, which is 60%. 54 damage. He's good. I like him a lot. And again, he could be run with Demigro as well, who's also very good. Then you've also got the new universe tree power. Again, I can't remember the full name. I mean, that probably is his name. Just doesn't sound right. The new blue Goku, you can go on his 200 lead. There's also Limit Breaker SSJ for Vegito. Again, Zamasu's overall is probably the better team to run Fu on. However, Fusion Zamasu has aged a bit. I mean, I suppose you could kind of get away with using his 200 lead if you kind of just kept him in slot 3 out of harm's way. And then units like Fu, even Demigra, for example, could benefit from Fusion Zamasu's domain. And then if you're running dual leads, that's 2 of them. But as I said, he has aged. But once you pop the domain, Fusion Zamasu is kind of indestructible for what, 4 turns? So if you can just keep him safe, as I said, floating around in slot 3, both of them, then use an active skill, or the domain, sorry, that's 1 less unit to worry about while buffing everyone else. So it's doable. You know, we have units like Fat Boo, Easy A Tech Exchange Boo. We've got Fu here. We've got Demigra. I'm sure there's some other units that I haven't brought who you could bring here instead. So while Zamasu himself has aged, overall as a category, Fu actually works really well here. We have got the orb changing. That's so satisfying. The literally half and half of the battlefield's been changed. Now, this is a mistake doing this because if Fu gets super attacked, he will die. Considering he doesn't have any of his extra damage reduction, hence why he's taking a ton on normals. But I waited to wait. 13.9 mil he's up to. 13.9. I said he can stack very quickly. It'd be even higher if we got lucky with the additional supers early on. But these heroes units definitely aren't lacking in terms of damage output. 15.5. And that's with a ton of crit chance as well, which means he's doing good actual raw damage to Goku's health bar right now. Fu's really good. I can't lie, they've done a very good job with these units this year, especially with how, again, lenient they are by removing the Dragon Ball Heroes and crossover restrictions and enabling you to use them elsewhere. It's really good. Overall, I like Fu a lot. I mean, defensively, could he be a bit better? Maybe. You know, consistently, yes, because if you don't get additional supers, if you get quite unlucky when it comes to RNG with supering on your additionals, you won't be able to build up Fu's damage reduction. Fortunately for me, we got quite unlucky, and he does have a 50 and a 70% chance, but as I said, if you do get really unfortunate with your additional luck, you won't be able to build up the extra damage reduction Fu does get. That's why I did kind of go safe a little bit, I guess, and give him like 6 dodge, just to give him a bit extra, because if he doesn't get it, he has nothing else to rely on aside from sheer stats from super attacking, which if you don't get additional supers, he won't get any extra defense for. So if you do get very unlucky, Fu is a little bit weak defensively, but most of the time he should be fine with the amount of defense he gets on super, the damage reduction from supering all those extra times. That said, I would go and give him some dodge, including on skill orbs as well, just to give him a bit extra if that doesn't happen, and in general as well. But overall, very, very good unit. Works well with Demigrat, works well outside of heroes and crossover, will work well on that category as well. So Dokkan's done a good job with the leniency this year. But you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments of AGL Kid Fu, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a great day, and peace.